Do you think that NATO and EU membership can provide a panacea for the Balkans?
Look, I think they can provide the only destination which provides an overarching structure within which you can exercise the leverage to build the institutions of a European state. I mean, the one thing that united everybody, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of political party, in Bosnia, that I was able to use, was the prospect of becoming Europe, joining Europe. The truth is that did far more. The magnetic pull of Brussels did far more to encourage and act as a lever for the reform of institutions than ever the push and pull and stick and scourge of the High Representative's bond powers. All those big things that were done because they were necessary to get into NATO and to get into Europe. And I think that magnetic pull is absolutely essential for the Balkans. Now, if I have a worry, to be honest, it is that viewed from the Balkans, and most people in the Balkans understand this, that magnetic pull has very significantly weakened in the last 2 to 3 years. And the consequence is that the drawing power, the leverage power of Europe to do the things that are necessary is significantly diminished in the Balkans because many of the Balkans don't believe it any longer. They don't believe that Europe wants to have them. Now, Croatia, I think, will act in the opposite direction. But one of the most destabilizing factors in the Balkans at present is the evident weakening of the magnetic pull of Brussels and the evident lack of enthusiasm shown by many European capitals that they're serious about having the Balkans join the European Union. For as long as that continues, our capacity to reform the Balkans will be significantly diminished. And by the way, we pay the price. This is not a faraway country, as somebody once said, of which we need no little. This is absolutely central. You know, the Balkans are the front line against crime in our inner cities. And if you leave that as a black hole, then they pay a price, very heavy price, but we pay one too. And we oughtn't to forget that there is self-interest now involved in this.
At the moment, many Balkan countries are addressing standard problems such as unemployment, crime, education. Do you feel that the region has reached the stage now that it has the same problems as any other normal European country?
No. A long way to go yet. But, I mean, we oughtn't to forget. It takes a long time to unstitch the enmities of war. We forget sometimes how long it takes. It took 200 years to unstitch the enmities of the English Civil War. It took up, if you think about American politics today, the reverberations of the American Civil War 150 years later are still very clearly evident. You can't wipe out the enmities of 10 years of terrible, bloody destruction in the Balkans in a matter of weeks. So, of course, in a matter of a handful of years, of course this is going to take time. But what I'm very clear about is that the Balkans are now making progress, albeit more slowly than I would wish, and sometimes haltingly, towards that end, that is the only future for them, and that it's in Europe's interests to make sure that they complete that journey. Now, there are some foolish, in my view, forces, some too close to the top in Belgrade, who somehow believe that Russia offers an alternative, Moscow offers an alternative to Brussels. You've got to be joking. And they're fools, in my view, to try and pretend to their own population that provides an alternative. Will Moscow put into the reconstruction of Serbia the kind of sums of money that Brussels has already committed and will go on committing? No, of course they won't. Nothing like it. Will Moscow abandon Belgrade when it's in their interest to do so, as they did before in the time of Milosevic and Primakov? Probably. Just do this little calculation. Go down to any European embassy of a Thursday evening in Belgrade. Austria, Germany, Britain, France. Find out how many people are queuing outside to get a visa to go to Europe. Now go to the Russian embassy and see how many want to go to Moscow, and you've got your answer. The truth is that those who would wish to pretend that Serbia can have an alternative destination, but being part of than being part of the European Union, by becoming part of the zone of influence of Russia, are, in my view, not only wrong, but tragically wrong in terms of what they're saying to the people of Serbia.
You said in your book that one of your greatest regrets was not seeing Ratko Mladic and Karadzic captured and arrested. Why do you think they weren't captured and arrested?
Well, there's a very simple answer to that. We love to flagellate ourselves and say it's all our fault. Well, the truth is that we are the most powerful army in the place, And we should be breaking every bone and every sinew of our own to make sure that we complete this task. But we can't complete it without the assistance of the local. The big thing is that in my time, there are all sorts of talks about what happened beforehand. Did Holbrooke make a deal with Karadzic? I don't know. Holbrooke has said no to me. Was there a deal with the French because they didn't want Karadzic to come to power because something happened over the time of General Janvier in Srebrenica? I don't know. I've heard the rumours. I can simply tell you that when I was there, the NATO, across the whole range of the NATO countries, was fully committed and provided the resources to find Karadzic and Mladic. The thing that was lacking was not NATO effort or intention, it was Serb cooperation. And the truth is that for as long as Banja Luka failed to cooperate adequately and Belgrade failed to cooperate adequately, this was almost never likely to be done. And so I think instead of pointing the finger at ourselves, I don't say we're flawless, and saying why were we at fault here, why did we not catch him, we ought to make sure that the people who are in the frame for this are the people who should be in the frame. And it is the failures initially of Banja Luka, and I have to say probably more recently too. We managed to break that when I was there, but it took some tough politics to do it. And I think the failures of Belgrade. I mean, my judgment that if Belgrade wanted to send Mladic to The Hague, they could do so. I suspect he's being protected by the renegade elements of the Serb security forces. I don't say under the control of Belgrade, but Belgrade could stop it. And if the Serb Orthodox Church wanted to make sure that Karadzic was in The Hague, they could do so. So those are the people we need to put under the pressure here. And if I have a sadness, it is the fact that, for reasons I find very difficult to comprehend, both Europe and NATO, to my great regret, have released the pressure on Serbia and Serbian institutions and on Banja Luka to fulfill their international commitments under the Hague Tribunal. And in consequence, I